Steve and Jill here.
And Erin.
Welcome to the House Academy Show, entertaining real estate investment talk. I'm Steven Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWit, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk, or I guess interview or talk with Land Academy Director and House Academy Director, Erin Spence. Welcome, Erin.
Hi.
Thanks for coming out from Seattle to do this and among other things.
Yeah.
I have like 500 questions for you.
I'm excited.
Fully plan on having this go over the time limit.
Okay.
And what I really want to ask Erin, and before we get into it though, we're going to answer a question from a member, but I want to find out what's on the minds of Land Academy and House Academy members in a really current event style, because I think we're, like everybody, we're experiencing the COVID situation and we're making adjustments as we go. And my perception is, at least, I'm the owner, I'm always the last one to know, but my perception is we're getting different types of members and they're needing a different type of experience. And so I want to make sure we're adjusting to that. And Jill and I are doing our part. So before we get into it though, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the houseacademy.com online community. It's free.
John says, I'm 90 days in to House Academy and I'm ready to send my first mailer, but I have some questions. What is the appropriate channel to ask these questions to get continuing education now and until I've reached my goals?
So this is a very, very timely and accurate question about what I just said. I'm going to ask Erin to answer this.
I like that too. I'm sure this comes up.
Well, first off, I would say ask questions. Something I'm kind of seeing right now is that some people are coming in and struggling a little bit more and not asking questions. And I'm finding out on the back end, longer than 90 days into it, that they have things that I could have answered for them, or I could have set them up with you guys to talk about, or, people who struggled for a lot longer than they needed to just because they didn't get their questions answered. The best way to get your questions answered is the weekly calls, though. So if you don't know, every Thursday, Steven and Jill go live and just answer any questions for all of our members. And they usually end up running really, really long. And we do deal reviews and Steven usually has some kind of presentation. Really anything you want covered can happen there. And that's the best way to get, really personalized support. And it seems like people aren't really taking advantage of that as well. So I would definitely recommend that as your first course of action. If you want some more individualized support, we do also offer consulting with Steven and Jill and with our moderator. He can help with House Academy and Land Academy items. That's another really good way if you kind of want more specialized support. And then if you're having, technical issues or account problems or things like that, that's when our staff support comes in. You can always call us during business hours, or email is usually actually a pretty quick way to get to us. And any kind of login issues, any data problems, things like that, that's what our staff is here for.
Excellent.
What are the wrong ways that people are reaching out? Like, I got to tell you, I personally get random Facebook Messenger things, and I'm like, I'm really the wrong person for this. Like account stuff, or I don't know how to do X. I'm like, okay. I'm the wrong one to ask, for quick attention, because I gotta go to Erin, who Erin goes to somebody else and to take care of it. And that's going to be, by the time I do that, it's a while.
It's like calling Bill Gates because your computer doesn't work.
Right, because
he doesn't know.
Because call Bill Gates because the latest Word update is not loading correctly. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
And I'm sure he'd be happy to help you if he knew.
Exactly.
We just don't know that stuff.
He's not the right guy. Well, then also too, it's like I don't want to answer it one time for one person, and that's the beauty of these calls. Our weekly member calls are recorded for all of our members. They can go back and listen to them if you're not able to be there live. You can listen and get the information that you need from them. And that's our whole thing, even with our program. I want to answer it one time for 500 people, not 500 times a person.
I'm glad you brought that up too. One thing I missed too is our knowledge bases. And we have a member knowledge base that's just kind of all of the login information and how to pull data and things like that. But we also have a knowledge base set up for everyone that's on all of our websites. And there's so much information there. Pretty much any kind of question we get asked frequently, we throw in there and we update it weekly. So there's so much information there that people need to take advantage of.
That's the little buoy thing, the little buoy on the site.
The short way, it's the buoy on the bottom of the website. Yeah. The short way to explain that is, chances are somebody's had your question in the past. So you can learn from that just by doing just a few minutes of research through the knowledge base.
Even our online community, I find that I go and look and like if you have questions about who knows, let's just say eBay, you can easily go on landinvestors.com or type in eBay
Jill
and
and I
watch what
spent,
pops up.
Jill and I, in the very beginning of this, it's our 5-year,
Yeah.
by the way, this month, right?
In July, wait, was it end of June? Oh, was it
is.
end
I
of
think it's-
June? I think it was. I have to double check.
I'll look
So-
at the website.
Yeah.
You know, Jill and I spent a lot of time and continue to spend a lot of time structuring this education environment or this it's really kind of an entrepreneurial environment to make sure everybody gets what they need and in a participant environment. So what I don't want you to do is bury yourself in a room, watch the program, don't get any up-to-date information, don't listen to the podcast, don't listen to the Thursday shows.
Be
The vast
frustrated.
majority of the basics of this is covered in these programs and in the education. But the stuff that has to do with what's going on this week, we really do spend a lot of time on these podcasts and on those Thursday webinars, addressing things that are pertinent to right now, like the COVID situation, specifically for houses. Or if we make any changes internally, it all gets announced on there. What we don't do is spend a lot of time producing updates to the program itself. We would never be able to catch up or keep up with. We would never be able to do both. There's just not enough time. So make sure
Nobody
you're
wants that
participating.
anyway.
Yeah.
Could you imagine be like if don't we all get
Rewatching.
don't we all get frustrated and like, oh no, we're gonna update my phone. I gotta learn something again. Could you imagine? Especially when they like really we've had some changes, like some of our data sources have really like, I gotta be honest with you now, is it Title Pro? Title Pro made some changes and I'm a little bit struggling a little bit. Like, okay, I gotta relearn this system now.
I'm afraid to log into Title Pro.
Could you
right now.
imagine? It's like, I know I can figure it out, but it looks completely different. So I got to kind of catch up again. So if we did that every time we had a little change, that would be monthly. So we choose not to mess with you like that.
I got to tell you a funny little anecdote about this. So I used to be the vice president of a long-term care healthcare system, and I was the youngest person in the company by decades. And so we had to change from Lotus 123 to Excel because Lotus was being discontinued, and everybody in the company just crawled under their desk. So I had to give this big presentation in a hall, not only about having an open mind to changing software, but to change.
Yeah.
You have-
it was
you
about
have to
you had to
change.
like first get into the psychology of change.
Yes.
Like change is
And specifically
good,
computers, because I was
it's
the
not a
youngest person. That
bad
was the only reason.
thing, We need to talk about this. Now
And
that we
man,
got through that.
If they had rotten tomatoes, they would have thrown them at me that day.
That's funny. I remember that. That's funny you say that. I remember being in a company one time and I was like, you had to sign up for the training for the changeover. I was like in the last group, man. I'm like, darn it. I don't want to do this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do want to jump in and like Erinify it for a second.
Oh,
though.
good. Oh.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, then we're going to get hats. Here we
not,
go.
not chillify it,
Airify it.
And I will say that when there are big updates or big changes, we do update programs. Like if anything with the data source changes, we'll update that and make sure it's up to date. We put out Land Academy, a couple of program updates. So if there are big changes, we do definitely update that.
Yeah, our 2015 is not the only one.
Yeah.
It's not like, figure it out. No, there's more.
All right, let me do this transition and we'll get back into it. Okay. Today's topic, an interview with Land Academy Director Erin Spence. This is while you're listening. What's the biggest change, Erin, that you've seen, if any, in the demeanor or the attitude or just the general presence of our membership group since the COVID?
It's really funny because at first everybody was manic about it. Like the first week after everything happened, we couldn't keep up with our inboxes. I was not doing any of my normal projects because I was doing our normal customer service job because we didn't have the staff to handle it. And it was really, really crazy for a little while. But honestly, it's evened out. And now we always talk about it, but I really am seeing all of the members whose sales have just gone through the roof. We have a lot of members who are deal funding other members now who have never done that before because they can't get enough inventory. So they're turning to this to make more money now. And it seems like people are more confident in taking advantage of, not taking advantage of, but just, seeing that this isn't like the downturn that they had expected with some of these sales and doing well that way.
That's what I'm saying too. From a deal standpoint, Jill, jump in here whenever you think. We're jamming properties through on the acquisition side and on the sell side times 10.
Exactly.
Maybe not times 10, but times 5 for sure.
Right.
We're gearing up, tooling up, and actually restaffing, increasing our staffing to send out
For
2 or
properties.
3 times more
Right.
the amount of mail.
Not for Land Academy, for our own buying and selling efforts.
Right. So there's a window here. I just got done reading an article about private equity is making a large, and real estate development in general. They all make data-driven decisions like we do, and that's the big difference between us and I think regular house and land flippers. And the data's telling them that secondary housing markets are on fire. People are moving out of big cities into smaller cities that are in the area and working because they think they're going to work from home forever. So it starts with housing and apartment renting, in my opinion, and then all commercial property and private equity and all of that kind of follows that data pattern. So is there a mass migration? No. But I think the trends are, you look at Phoenix and Tucson's a tertiary market. You look at Los Angeles, there's tons and tons of smaller towns further out from Los Angeles. And so, I mean, you can tell it yourself, if you're bored. And you are if you're listening to the show. Go on to Realtor.com or Redfin and take a look at the pending statistics of properties that are pending or under contract in those tertiary markets. It's staggering, and it's all good news for us.
I was going to say, it used to be like driving. I just on a webinar the other day where we're talking about that. Now with the COVID in a positive way, 'cause this is the house show, everything's changing, and people are really they're going to go to other markets, like you said. They're going to sell from places like New York and New Jersey, these compact places, and go to where their dollar gets them more rent, even rent and or housing. And it used to be, drive till you qualify, like it was a bad thing. It used to be, oh, you can't afford to live here, you're forced to live out there. It's not a bad thing anymore. Now it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's theoretically less COVID there too.
Maybe they have more room.
If that's a concern of yours, and so I mean,
Exactly.
seriously.
Yeah. I want to go where I can walk my dog, and my dog can run and have a yard, and my kid could play. I can't even imagine right now, too, if I was in a New York apartment,
Right.
stuck with a dog and a toddler.
I can't imagine that anytime, but specifically
Exactly.
now, it's just as bad.
I had a toddler, and the dog had to go because the dog and the toddler, it didn't work. Yeah, because the toddler terrorized the dog. That's another show.
That is a different show.
Yeah.
So what else is current with Land Academy and House Academy members that is either positive or negative?
Well, I think kind of because of this, and people are seeing, especially on the sell side, seeing the changes, we're getting a lot more questions about that specifically. And you guys don't know it yet, but we're going to start adding some different portals based on like how to sell and things like that. That's a big one. We all know that it's changing constantly, especially the social media aspect of it. The sites that we used to use to sell land and housing, well, not housing, but that we used to sell, we don't use anymore. And now there's new things popping up that we're discovering. And so that's been a big thing that people are trying to sell and seeing the market, but now not really sure how to do it with everything that's changing. So that's something we're getting a lot in about.
That's super cool.
Excellent.
That's really good.
The more unique requests that we get, like on the Thursday show, we do a thing called Would You Do This Deal, where Jill and I review potential transactions for members, and they get our opinions and then they make a decision. I think we could take that Would You Do This Deal concept a little bit further, and it sounds like you are, like, would you mail this market? Would you sell this property this way? Would you sell this property on terms or for cash? Would you put a shed on this property to make it look different than all the rest of the property that's posted online?
Great.
So I think, is that what you're kind of talking
Definitely.
about?
Everybody
Okay.
wants kind of like a little bit of a deeper dive, which is really, really cool to see.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is because we have such a large community that has been with us now for 5 years. We have people that have been with us for a long time, and they're growing. We're all growing together, and I want to provide them the tools and the information and the knowledge, and they're good at giving back too. And I love that.
We want to give value. We want to continually
Grow.
adjust what we provide in this group the same way that you adjust as an entrepreneur or as a land buyer or real estate investor. So, we don't want to just create half-hour little additions here and there about addressing some topics that, it's like watching TV.
Right.
We want to be interactive.
We're seeing on the acquisition side as well, too. People are sending out more mail, and now knowing that how much they're bringing in and how much money they have to spend. So they're getting more into like tax sales and things like that, which is another thing I want us to cover too. But people are just expanding and not necessarily sure how to do it, but ready for it.
That's great.
It's awesome.
That's what it's just like a college class. They don't necessarily teach you how to do it. They just make you aware of everything and make you aware of how to get the information and get into it. And then it's kind of where you take that is your responsibility with continuing education.
That's the thing I love about us. It's not like everybody has their own little business, their own little company. And I watch so many awesome offshoots, what different niches people are picking and areas and things they're going into. That's one of the best things I love too about our weekly calls is I look at deals and I'm like, wow, I never would have thought of that. Like, look at that area and what they're doing. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
I was going to say kick, what? But, I can't say that on the show.
Oh, that's another thing.
Kick blank.
This is all rated G on the podcast,
yeah.
but the Thursday calls are not.
Yeah.
It's not a public scenario, so you get to see a different side of Jill.
Thanks. That's hilarious. Yeah, I show up with, all my tattoos are uncovered. I throw my nose ring in, or I don't know, or my eyebrow ring.
So that's PG-13. The live event, it gets.
Oh, then we all do that.
Everybody.
Then we all imagine our weekly calls with alcohol.
Yeah, that is accurate.
That's that.
Yeah, everybody's got questions for Jill during the live event. Oh, no, Steve, it's not a question for you. Step aside. I want to hear what Jill has to say.
You are the most popular person at the live event.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else, Erin, before we turn it off?
I really just can't wait to see how many of our members don't return to their jobs. Not that I'm thankful for COVID-19, but it did force a lot of people who were put on furlough to kind of kick it into gear and make it or not make it. And I'm seeing people make it, and it's awesome.
Later this week, Jill and I will record a show. It'll air on Friday of this week, and it's called To Make Any Progress. I'm paraphrasing. To really make any change or any progress in your life, you need to leave. If you need to leave a relationship to move forward, then you need to do that. If you need to leave your job to move forward, then you do that. What you generally don't want to do is wait for somebody else to make that decision for you. And then you got to scramble around. What was your saying about a job, Joe? The time to look for a job is when you have one.
Well, when you have one.
Not when you don't have one.
Exactly. Yeah, the best time. You don't want to be under the gun and have the pressure of it.
Right.
So
that applies here.
Happy you could join us today. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we're right here on the House Academy Show. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we are on the Land Academy Show.
Tomorrow, the episode on the Land Academy Show is called An Interview with Member Lori Phillips. You are not alone in your real estate ambition. Man, what's the biggest difference between Seattle and Los Angeles?
Beach time.
She answers fast.
That's so good. Yeah.
Is that good or bad?
I hate it here with that. Everyone just does what they want, and nobody has a schedule, and it drives me up a wall.
It drives me nuts too. That's the truth of it.
She did say that. We're like, getting ready to do something like leaving the office yesterday or something. She's like, really? I thought we're leaving now.
It takes half an hour. We have to talk about everything and look at stuff, and it's not you, it's everybody out here.
There are times that our group of friends go to the beach, and I go to the library when it gets really hot, and just bring the computers
just hide
and do stuff and write or whatever.
Yep. That's when the library used to be open. Where do you go now?
Pretty much right here.
Okay.
I just close the curtains so the beach people can't see.
It's so good. The House Academy Show remains commercial-free for you, our loyal listener. So wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, please subscribe and rate us there. We are Steven Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.